They said the world was ending. They were wrong. I wake to the sound of sparrows, not sirens. Light spills through the open window, soft as breath. Vines climb the walls beside my bed, green and quiet and alive. The air smells like rain and jasmine. I lie still for a moment, listening. This is the world we chose. This is the morning we built. And it is more ordinary and more beautiful than anyone dared to promise. Good morning, Maya. Ori's voice drifts through the kitchen, gentle as a friend who has known me a long time. I pour water over coffee grounds in a cup grown from mushroom root, bread from the neighborhood bakery, tomatoes from the wall behind me, still warm from the lamp. Ori reminds me of the meeting at 10. I laugh and tell it I remember. When I'm done, I press the cup into the soil bin. By evening, it will be earth again. Nothing here is wasted. Nothing here is thrown away. The pod glides in without a sound. No horns, no smoke, just a whisper of air as the doors open. I step in, and the city unfolds past the window. Where highways once cut the neighborhoods in half, there are oaks now, children on bicycles, old men playing chess in the shade. A river runs through the middle of downtown, clear enough to see the stones. I remember the photographs, the gray ones, the ones that looked like wounds. We stitched the city back to itself, slowly, patiently, block by block. At the studio, the light is enormous. My colleagues gather around a table made of pressed hemp, and above it, a building turns slowly in the air, drawn in gold. I reach in and shift a curve. The walls will be mycelium, the beams grown, not milled. This one will drink carbon from the sky and breathe it back as oxygen. It will host bees in its roof and neighbors in its courtyard. We used to design shelters against the world. Now we design shelters with the world. Every line I draw is a small apology. Every line is a promise. Lunch is on the rooftop. Long tables under a canopy of squash vines. Amara brought stew. Kenji brought pickles. Someone's grandmother brought bread still warm from the oven. We eat together, 12 languages and one table. A boy asks me what abundance means. I tell him it isn't more. It's enough, shared well. Someone else says time is the new currency. And we all laugh because it always was. The sun is high, the tomatoes are ripening, and no one today is hungry. In the afternoon, I visit the site. A whole block rising in a single day. The printers hum, laying walls in slow, patient spirals. Where a slum stood a decade ago, there is now a garden street and homes with wide windows and rain gardens along the curb. The families who will live here help draw the plans. A grandmother shows me where the mango tree should go. A little girl points to the window she wants. I write it down. This is the work. Not building for people, building with them. Evening finds me in the plaza. The turbines above us turn like slow silver flowers, humming clean power into the grid. Someone is playing a guitar. Kids chase each other between the fountains, barefoot, laughing the way children have always laughed. My friends wave me over. There is wine in clay cups and figs on a plate. The sky goes pink, then violet, then deep blue. I think about my grandmother, how she worried for us, how she would have loved this hour, how she would have sat here, and finally, let her shoulders down. On my balcony, the city glows green beneath me, a quiet constellation of gardens and lit windows. Somewhere, a train whispers home. Somewhere, a baby is being born. I think of the ones who came before, who fought for this without knowing if it would come. And I think of the ones who will come after. We are trying, I want to tell them, to be ancestors worth having. The night is warm. The world is still here. And so, tomorrow, are we.
On a cold December morning in 1913, in a factory on the outskirts of Detroit, a black automobile rolled off the end of a moving line. It was unremarkable to look at, and yet it would change how the world moved. The man behind it was a farmer's son from Michigan, a tinkerer with grease under his fingernails and a stubborn, singular vision. His name was Henry Ford. He was born in the summer of 1863 on a modest farm outside Dearborn, while the Civil War still smoldered to the south. From his earliest years, the rhythms of the farm bored him. It was machinery that stirred his imagination. The story is told that at the age of 13, young Henry took apart his father's pocket watch, studied its tiny gears, and put it back together again in perfect working order. Soon, neighbors were bringing him their broken timepieces to repair. At 16, he left the farm for Detroit, a city humming with steam, iron, and possibility. He apprenticed as a machinist, learning the language of pistons and lathes, of tolerances measured in the thousandths of an inch. By his late 20s, he had risen to chief engineer at the Edison Illuminating Company. It was there, at a company dinner, that he met his hero, Thomas Edison. Ford described his idea for a gasoline-powered carriage. Edison, so the story goes, banged his fist on the table and said, "Young man, that's the thing. Keep at it." It was the encouragement of a lifetime. In the summer of 1896, in a small brick workshop behind his home, Ford completed his first machine. He called it the quadricycle, a spindly contraption of bicycle wheels and a two-cylinder engine. When the moment came to test it, Ford discovered a problem. The machine was too wide for the workshop door. Undeterred, he took an axe to the brick wall, knocked it out, and drove his creation into the Detroit night. Success, however, did not come easily. His first company collapsed within 2 years. His second ended in bitter disagreement with its investors. By 1902, Henry Ford was nearly 40, twice defeated, and running out of chances. But in 1903, with a handful of backers and $28,000 in capital, he tried once more. The Ford Motor Company was born. For 5 years, Ford experimented. He labeled his prototypes with the letters of the alphabet: Model A, Model B, Model N, searching for the right formula. Then, in 1908, he found the Model T was simple, durable, and above all, affordable. A car for the great multitude, Ford called it. He would later quip that a customer could have it in any color he liked, so long as it was black. The demand was overwhelming. And demand, Ford realized, required a new kind of factory. In 1913, at his Highland Park plant, Ford's engineers perfected the moving assembly line. The chassis no longer waited for the worker waited, and the chassis came to him. The results were staggering. What had once taken more than 12 hours to build now took approximately 90 minutes. The price of the Model T fell, and fell again, until an ordinary family could afford one. Then, in January of 1914, Ford stunned the industrial world. He announced that his workers would earn $5 a day, more than double the prevailing wage. It was, he insisted, sound business. A man who built cars ought to be able to buy one, and in that single stroke, Henry Ford helped invent the American middle class.
But the story darkens.
Ford was a brilliant industrialist and a deeply flawed man. He resisted unions, hired thugs to intimidate organizers, and ruled his empire with an autocrat's hand. In the 1920s, his newspaper, the Dearborn Independent, published a long series of vicious, anti-Semitic articles, writings that would be admired decades later by the very worst men of the 20th century. It is a stain that no achievement can wash away, and he clung to the Model T long past its time. As rivals introduced color, comfort, and style, Ford refused to change. By the late 1920s, his empire was faltering, forced at last to retool. Still, the scale of what he built was almost beyond imagining. At the River Rouge complex, iron ore entered at one end and finished automobiles rolled out the other. It was a city of industry, 100,000 workers strong. From it flowed not just cars, but an entire way of life. Suburbs, highways, weekends, road trips. The consumer society of the 20th century was, in no small measure, born on Henry Ford's assembly line. He died in 1947 in the house he had built near the farm where he was born. Outside his window, the roads of America were thick with the machines he had made possible. The assembly line still hums. The Model T is gone, and Henry Ford, for all his genius and all his failings, belongs now to history. But the world he set in motion, restless, mechanized, mobile, is still unmistakably the world we live in.